All right, so got Thomas Ward that's joining us from Pig Floyd's Urban Barbacoa. Thomas, thanks for joining us today. Can you share with our listeners a little bit about who you are?
Thanks for having me. Yeah. So about 6 years ago, I started this restaurant, this company called Pig Floyd's Urban Barbacoa. And yeah, we were just trying to differentiate ourselves from a business, obviously, that's been so traditional in that sense and involves a lot of traditional sides and stuff like that. So we decided to change it up and kind of internationalize it, always with the idea that I wanted to be in one of the parks, Universal or Disney. So if somebody from Universal or Disney is listening, please let me in. Yeah. So basically what we did is we added the tacos so that we can, believe it or not, in my idea, I think I come from a family of, I have 4 sisters and a mom, and typically the decision maker when it comes to going out to dinner is my mom or one of my sisters in their respective family. So I wanted to see how we could attract that decision maker to come into a barbecue restaurant, because typically barbecue is more like, heavy. It's a guy, let's drink beer, So we kind of brought in the tacos. We brought in different sides with the rice and beans and the plantains, and kind of attracted that decision maker into going into, like, barbecue is not always, ribs, brisket, heavy meals. And it actually did work, because our tacos are our most popular item on the menu.
Yeah, so Thomas, that obviously you had influence from growing up that kind of helped shape your menu. Can you share as far as with where you grew up and kind of that original first venture into the restaurant industry?
So I grew up in San Juan, Puerto Rico, and I moved to Orlando in 2001 to study at Rollins College. And I don't like cooking. And I got into the restaurant business almost by mistake. In 2011, I opened a food truck. I just was looking for a business that I could come in with very little capital and sort of a safe, asset that if I had to exit, there has some value. So the food truck did have value. And I went really basic. I went on YouTube. I learned how to do burgers and grilled cheese. And I started what was my first venture in the restaurant business called Treehouse Truck. And it became successful just because I became known for doing the burger in between 2 Krispy Kreme donuts in Orlando. So it became really popular in that time. And that was really my first venture into the business. And obviously I learned by hitting my head a lot, because, I had a partner, and we brought in a chef. The chef disappeared a week later, and then we brought in another chef. It was a mess. But I worked the truck, and I guess that gave me the experience to be able to do what I currently do, which is now, this is probably going to be 10 years in the business. So it's crazy.
Yeah, it's amazing as far as seeing your growth there in the community and how much you guys are doing. So take us back, those original days, maybe from when you transitioned from Treehouse Truck, you moved back.
I
you were
moved
working in the
back
back of a grocery store, I think, with
that. I moved back to Puerto Rico, and in one of the grocery stores my dad had, I opened a restaurant. And it was going great. And there was a little bit of a mishap in the building where we were in, and the building owner went bankrupt, and they voided our lease. So literally, I was running a successful restaurant, and the guy comes in and says, "Your lease is voided, you're out." It was sort of a shocker. So I moved back to Orlando, and I called some friends, and they said, "You should get into barbecue." And the same sort of story with Treehouse. I did YouTube. I asked a lot of questions. I brought in one of the great chefs that work with me in the food truck, Jason, and found the location on Mills, bought the restaurant that was there, which is a Turkish restaurant, and the rest is history.
Yeah. So in those original days, obviously you went through a lot of struggles initially coming up. That you had Treehouse, and that you were going with the truck. You sold, moved back, had another great business going. Things were out of your control, went sideways, had to figure out how to reinvent and do it again, and come back to Orlando. So if you're looking back at those struggles with that, right? What was that greatest challenge that you had to learn and find your way through at that time?
I had no money. So I had no money, and believe it or not, I mean, I thought that it was going to be easier to be able to raise capital for restaurants, but people are very scared, very apprehensive when it comes to, investing in restaurants. And obviously the failure rate is pretty high. And so finding those investors for the unit was very tough. I mean, I heard a lot of no's, and I found a group of people that wanted to invest, and luckily they did, and they did really well.
So how did you overcome that you found that group of people that were willing to invest in you and your concept?
Just listening to a lot of no's until you get that yes, right? And I don't want to say short to a miracle, but I want to say that the cards were in the right place, because I mean, the investor, the main investor that appeared was, I was 2 weeks from selling the location at Mills because I didn't have the money to finish it. And and I found this person that literally told me, like, hey, I'm looking to invest in a restaurant. Do you know of anything? And I was like, what?
Yeah. You're like, where were you weeks ago?
Yeah, for real. And we did a deal, and that happened, and and we ran over budget again, and then I had to find another person to finish the project, and I did. And finally we opened September 11 of 2000, 2014, September 11, 2014. I mean, and I was like, if we don't open today, I'm out of cash. It's the typical, you think you have enough money to open, and then you don't have money because you go over budget, and you open, and then obviously cash flow comes in, and we got really lucky that the business took off as fast as it did. It was a good time in the barbecue business, because obviously the only people that were in town were Sonny's and Four Rivers. So there wasn't a lot going on in that segment. And it's really a segment that's really tough to go in, because if you're cooking every day, I mean, it takes 12 hours to do a brisket. It's not like you're cooking a burger in 12 minutes, right? So that segment is a very difficult one in that sense, because you have to kind of calculate what you are going to sell. And when you run out, you run out.
Yeah. So I grew up in the southwestern part of Virginia. So barbecue, I think, is part of my soul, right?
Okay.
I think so.
It is.
So when myself and my wife come into your location, and that you walk in, and it doesn't matter that it's this different take on barbecue. It's still that just warm emotion that you get inside of yourself, that you're like, oh man, yeah, it's time
I'm
for
about to eat some. Yeah, it's time for some barbecue.
It's good.
I mean, I recently brought in some traditional sides, which I've been wanting to do for catering purposes. The baked beans and the mac and cheese and stuff like that, because a lot of people would want to order it. But yeah, I think people have adjusted to it. And, a lot of people didn't think that rice and beans would go, with that combination of the meats and stuff like that. So it's been really cool. I think it's been, a lot of people like the concept. A lot of people think it's, sort of different. And obviously when they try it, they're like, oh yeah, this works. So
yeah. So obviously we had the struggles initially with the restaurant, and I think every restaurant owner or business owner out there knows that cash flow is king. It doesn't matter. You've got to have cash flow to make everything work.
Man,
and restaurants are such a tight margin anyways. I was watching a video that you'd recorded a while back, where you were explaining just how much the pans that you put stuff in to go out and do these family meals, and how much that cost. And it's like, man, I'm doing this because I'm trying to go out to keep my restaurant alive. But just the crazy amount. I know when I would look at stuff, managing restaurants with Brinker years ago, and I'm looking at stuff going, man, we need to pump out some more alcohol sales, because food we're not going to win on.
I mean, I'm in agreement with you. I mean, alcohol has been always what helps your food costs and cures a lot of your problems, because it brings so much cash flow and it brings so much profit. But because I only do 12%, 13% of beer, beer and wine, it's not much. So I count on food.
Absolutely.
And the cycles that we're in right now, I mean, the jumps, it's something that I've never seen before, to be honest with you. Like, I was paying for brisket one week $275, and that Saturday, on Monday, I was paying $650.
Whoa.
Unannounced.
And I know you were happy. You were posting last night, I think it was. You were happy to finally see brisket prices starting to come down a little bit.
Yeah, they're dropping down, but you're going like, when is this going to come back to normal? I mean,
yeah.
$435 right now. I'm seeing even, and now with all this upswing of COVID, we think that it's going to go back up to the 5 range. So, it's just, it's something that you have no control over. And when you try to explain it to the guests, it's just, they don't get it. Gloves. I've been talking to another person in the industry about gloves. If you're not a big buyer, that you're buying trailer loads, I mean, gloves doubled in price overnight. I mean, from $35 it went to straight $70, and if we can find them, it's crazy.
So you've had all these changes on the expense side of things, right? And with obviously the change in people's patterns that's going on right now. So as we record this, we're hopefully coming out of COVID-19 with the pandemic. It seems like we're kind of ramping back up for a second go of it. But, how are you overcoming these challenges now? I saw where you were doing kind of these neighborhood meal deliveries, even going as far as Miami to deliver food to. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, we pivoted the business into delivery, right? And what was going on, obviously, I think at the beginning of when this started, was that people were cooking at home, but they were getting tired of it really quick. And we were just trying to offer family meals so that we can have a bigger ticket as we delivered, because we were offering free delivery. But yeah, I threw that Miami trip in a bind. Like, I called my sister that lives down there. She got 20 of her friends to buy, and then we put it out there. And it was crazy, because the first one, I went down with 50 orders by myself, and I started delivering at 11 in the morning, and I ended up that night at 11 at night. I mean, I had to obviously comp the last probably 5 meals, because people were mad. They weren't getting their food. So it was a learning process, and then I've done it 3 more times, and it's been great. And we went to Jacksonville. We've gone to Tampa several times. So, it's great to see that the brand has that capability of traveling, because the food holds very well, and people recognize it in those parts of Florida. So it's been great in that sense. And obviously in town, when we've gone to different cities or town, I call it towns, Windermere, Altamont Springs, Castleberry, Longwood, all that, people have been very supportive in that. And I think we're going to move back into it again and try it again. But when restaurants started opening back, I mean, that whole side of the business died instantly for everybody. I mean, takeout all of a sudden died, and people wanted to go back into the restaurants and eat. We took longer because I held off till June 1st to open the dining room. And then it was going up and up and up. And all of a sudden at the end of June, obviously last week, it died. And I think people are now feeling that we should go back into the takeout mode. And we're leaving the dining room open, but trying to do it super safely, obviously.
Yeah, that ability to quickly make changes in your business, that's a great lesson as far as to share with everybody. Whether it's in your business life, your personal life, the ability to quickly make changes. We saw a lot of people go through that as this started. We were saying it's time to get on the skinny budget. You've got to figure out what's the least amount you can get by with, and a lot of the fun things that you like doing, we got to back it down a little bit temporarily. Restaurant owners, business owners that said, I love my staff. I want to try to keep them as long as I can, but they also want to make sure there is a business for them to come back to at some point. So we've seen that when people said, hey, a hurricane? Yeah, a hurricane, I know when it's going to kind of come. I can expect I might be closed a couple days, maybe a week. With this, you've seen people that now it's like, okay, you're closed for 4 or 5 months. You're trying to figure out how to get back. So kudos to you with figuring out how can you try to do this in the best way possible to keep out there, keep people enjoying amazing food and doing that. So Thomas, that's awesome that you're
I
doing that.
appreciate that. I think right now we're going back into our skinny budget because, obviously there was PPP funds that helped us out, but this is changing again. So,
Yeah.
I mean, it's a very interesting thing to see how business, evolves with different ownership and my friends that own restaurants, and seeing how the business just changes quickly. I mean, last week we went from 75% in-house and 25% takeout to 50% takeout and 50% dining in. So, I mean, the business changed like that again. So
so if you're looking at that right now, so obviously you're making an impact in the community by being able to be out and in front of people and get them the enjoyment with that. But if you're looking at yourself and the ability that your business has for you to make a difference for your family or in the Orlando area, how do you want to be known for making that impact, Thomas?
Well, I mean, right now, obviously, we are working hard to try to consistently put out a great product and to be able to create value for what's going on right now. I mean, a lot of people are just strictly looking for value with cutting their budgets. So, going back to family meals, obviously, we have to adjust pricing depending on what the value of the product that we're buying. So, but more importantly is just putting hot meals in front of people. And if we can help, I mean, we've been doing it even with nurses and first responders, and we've had people call in and sponsor meals. And we pretty much give it at the least amount that we can so that these people can eat hot meals that are different. That's not, the traditional pizza and other stuff that they've been eating every day. So
you've done some amazing other stuff to keep them happy too, though, right? I've said with the family, the date night and the partnership.
Yeah, we've done date night. Yeah, that's true. We've done date night. I forgot about that. We're doing it every second Saturday, and that's been super popular because people obviously they are not going out on dates. My 4 sisters are not going out on dates. They've done the date night and they come and sit outside the restaurant. So it's been pretty cool. It's been a great experience.
So explain, what does that date night look like for somebody that maybe isn't familiar with it?
So basically we offer a package with tacos and sides, dessert, and a candle so that people can come and actually they've done it in the back of the restaurant. They've done it in parks so they could sit as a couple and enjoy a meal by themselves without the kids. And it's been really popular. People love it.
You'll have to look this up. So for the listeners that are listening right now on the podcast, go to Thomas's Instagram. So I think at Pig Floyds.
Pig Floyds,
is that right? So and there's pictures if you look back as far as this date night kit. So it's like the sanity rescue for moms and dads right now that are out there. So it's really it's a unique concept, and it's partnering with other businesses that are here as far as that heart and soul of Orlando, of trying to make a difference together. You have so many business owners reaching out to one another, to your point, that are saying, what can we do? What are you doing that's working? What doesn't work? Holy cow, how do we figure this out and then pivot again? So it's an ever moving target.
It's been great. It's been something obviously I've never experienced in my career, because as we sit down every Tuesday for meetings, you're looking for answers and you're looking at where it's going to go. You can't answer that question currently. Like, you don't know. I mean,
if I had that glass ball, Thomas, for my clients that are asking like, hey, where's the market going? Hey, when do I need to be prepared for this? How's the election going to go? I'm like, I'm just trying to make it to tomorrow, guys.
Right.
Let's worry about that. It's a totally different environment. So what relationships have helped you along the way as far as growing your business, Thomas?
We've built a really good team we're very lucky. I am very lucky that, for example, Darden, it's local. It's here in Orlando. So I've had a lot of people that I've met through the years, and I've built relationships with people that have been in the restaurant industry for many, many years with experience. So that's luckily helped me a lot, because obviously they've seen this sort of situation before in other ways, right? The 2008 downturn of the economy, and previous situations. Obviously, when I was a child. I was born in '83, so they've seen other stuff like that. And with the experience always teaches you how to kind of maneuver in these sort of situations, and I call them and they answer. So that's, for me, that's basically a library of knowledge that I get for free. And I've really tapped into that market right now. I mean, my lawyer is an experienced restaurant guy. My my real estate advisor, she's done so many real estate deals working for Darden for many years, and now she works for another company, large restaurant company. So, those kind of calls that you make and you ask questions helps a lot, because there's a lot of fog going on in my decision making, at least, due to the fact that you're like trying to navigate. And obviously we have something new that not a lot of people have dealt with in the last downturn, which was social media. And social media is so active right now that I keep repeating to my staff that I think it's almost like a high school competition of how you're going to come dressed to school today. Because if you don't have something really cool out there, there's a lot of things going on, so people lose focus on what you're putting out there. So it's been very interesting. It's just like, okay, what cool shoes are you wearing to high school today is what I say, and what are people going to say? So that's been the gist of it. Like, how do we acclimate to that situation, being that you have to be in the forefront of people's decision making when they're going to go out for a meal? Because a few weeks back, when obviously restaurants open, I think a lot of people put their direction towards the full service, heavy set dining. Like, let's say, oh, we're going to go out for a nice meal this week, and that's where our budget is going to go, right? An Eddie V's, a Ruth Chris. We haven't been there during the pandemic. So we've been to fast casual restaurants. So we decide when this opens that let's go to a nice meal. Let's get dressed up. Let's wear the mask. Let's enjoy that process. I was one that went out and I went to Eddie V's and obviously experienced something that's not the norm. I mean, It was crazy to see. It was a shocker, right? There's tables in between. Everybody's wearing a mask. Service is different. Bars closed. It's just a really big adjustment when you've been in the restaurant business for so long, and you see how people now, we have to adjust the business model to what's currently happening, obviously, in the planet.
So we're going to get out of the present day, right? We're going to put on our caps. We're going to look forward. We're saying we wake up now. It's 5 years from now, and we're looking back, and we're saying, what is Pig Floyd's then? What are you doing what is Pig Floyd's at that point, Thomas? If you can dream.
So, in my dream, I mean, my dream has always had to. My dream has been to have 50 units. Okay. That's what I've always wanted to do, and that's what I'm going to continue to go for. I mean, I do the Jim Carrey thing. I carry a check for what I want to sell my company for, and so I keep with that plan. It's just going to take. It might take a little bit more time now, that I had planned for. And I think another thing to pivot in this kind of situation is that I might go into a different cuisine just to build safety in terms of just being able to take care of my family, and, maybe into the pizza business, which has not been damaged as much
Hmm.
as, let's say, the barbecue business. I like breakfast and lunch a lot. I have a concept that I've been working on for the last year. It's called Pig Floyds. And so that sort of thing is something that I'm looking to right now, and finding a way where I can pivot into smaller units. It's not necessarily me looking for a 5,000 square foot restaurant. It's just me looking for an opportunity, because I think there's going to be opportunities right now. I mean, let's face it, there's a lot of things going on and a lot of changes with landlords and everything. So there's going to be opportunities in the coming year, I think, and I have to be ready for it.
Yeah, I think we're going to probably see a lot more of these dining hall type setups, as far as a lot of restaurants that people are able to kind of have a micro unit. You're going to the location specific, but you're not quite sure what you want to eat yet, and that you're just trying to stick out amongst that. So I know that we've got things that have popped up like that in Oviedo, in Winter Garden, stuff like that that's just coming up. So that's amazing to hear, as far as part of that dream of what you're wanting to make sure happens for Pig Floyds and for your overall brand, Thomas. So what an impactful story as far as sharing with everybody, and I'm excited to be able to see how that plays out. So where can people get more information to follow you?
Well, Pig Floyd's obviously on Instagram, Facebook, um, and we're pretty active. I mean, we do a ton of stories. We try to make Patrick dance. Patrick has crazy dance moves, and we try to keep it happy. Obviously, everybody takes a lot of pictures of food, and it's great, but restaurants are really more than only food. There's the people behind it, and that's something that I've always tried to put the story online, because I think a lot of restaurant companies just go a little bit cold and try to post a lot of pictures of food. And for many years, believe it or not, I was actually criticized about the fact that I put too much of my life into it. And now people are they're paying people to actually put their lives into the restaurant business. So it's an interesting take, and that's what I'll continue doing. So I mean, I think online we have a pretty good presence. So if people want to follow the story, go. It's super easy. Just click follow.
So be sure to follow that. And as you're listening to this, the breakfast tacos should have launched. So you'll be able to enjoy not only lunch and dinner, but breakfast as well as at Pig Floyd's.
Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, we're doing breakfast tacos, and they're really great. They're really good.
Fantastic. Well, Thomas, thanks so much for your time. Until next time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for watching the Life Wealth Group YouTube channel. We hope you found this video informative. If you have any specific questions as to what you heard today, don't hesitate to reach out to us for a complimentary phone call or meeting in person. Also, don't forget to subscribe.